Let me paint a picture for you of a couple that might hit a little too close to home. They're both ambitious professionals. She's crushing it in digital marketing, pulling in $65,000 a year, and he's a software engineer raking in $75,000. Together, that's a solid $140,000 household income, landing them squarely in the top 20% of American families. On paper, they should be living the dream, stacking wealth, funding dream vacations, beefing up their retirement funds, and sleeping soundly at night knowing they're financially bulletproof. But reality? It's a nightmare. They're constantly stressed, scraping by from one paycheck to the next. Their emergency fund? Maybe 3 months' worth of expenses if they're lucky, and that's stretching it. Last week, when the AC unit gave out during a heat wave, they had no choice but to slap it on a credit card, adding to the growing pile of debt. They both clock in full-time hours, often spilling into overtime, leaving them utterly drained. Weeknights are a blur of quick dinners and collapsing on the couch, barely exchanging more than a few words before bed. And the irony? They've played by every rule in the book. Earned those college degrees, built solid careers, tied the knot, merged their finances, and snagged a home in a solid school district. They did it all right. So why does it feel like they're barely keeping their heads above water? Why does a six-figure income feel like it's evaporating into thin air? If you've ever stared at your joint bank statement and wondered, how are we making this much and still feeling this broke? Stick around. This video is about to drop some truth bombs that will reshape how you see your finances. We're diving deep into the hidden pitfalls of dual income life and how to break free. Hey everyone, I'm Mikey and I geek out over personal finance way more than I should. Especially why today's two-income families often end up more strapped than the single-earner households of decades past. If you're hustling alongside your partner, both grinding away yet it never feels like enough, do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications and give this video a thumbs up if it resonates. Let's unpack this together. It's going to be eye-opening. We've all heard the mantra, two incomes are better than one. It sounds like simple math, doesn't it? If a single $60,000 salary can support a family, then two $60,000 salaries should mean smooth sailing with an extra $60,000 for savings, investments, and that dream home upgrade. Double the income, double the security, right? Wrong. What we've actually witnessed is one of the sneakiest financial scams in modern history, and it's flying under the radar for most people. This concept is called the two-income trap, first spotlighted by Elizabeth Warren. Yep, the same one who's now a U.S. Senator. Back in 2003 when she was a Harvard law professor specializing in bankruptcy. She co-authored a groundbreaking book with her daughter, Amelia Warren Tyagi, after analyzing over 2,000 bankrupt families. Their findings? Mind-blowing. Dual incomes didn't build a fortress of financial stability, they created a house of cards. Families with two working parents were actually more prone to bankruptcy than those relying on a single income. Let that marinate. You're working twice as hard, cashing two checks, following society's playbook to a T, and you're more at risk of total financial wipeout. This isn't about bad budgeting or splurging, it's a rigged system and chances are you're caught in it without even realizing. To really grasp this, we need a time machine trip back to 1970. Back then, only about 43% of women were in the workforce. The classic middle-class setup? One main breadwinner, often the dad, bringing home the bacon and one parent, usually the mom, holding down the fort at home. And get this, that single income wasn't just scraping by, it was thriving. Data from the U.S. Census Bureau and Bureau of Labor Statistics shows a median single-income family could snag a medium-priced home, shelling out just 20 to 25% of their earnings on housing. Public schools were solid across the board, no need to chase elite districts. Healthcare was affordable, a reliable car was within reach, groceries didn't break the bank, and there was still cash left for savings, a modest family getaway or even hobbies. More importantly, they had built-in safety nets. Life throws curveballs, job loss, illness, economic downturns. In those cases, the stay-at-home parent could jump into the job market as a backup. It wasn't perfect, but it was a real insurance policy. Untapped earning potential ready to deploy in emergencies. Families had breathing room, flexibility, and resilience baked right in. Now, snap back to 2025. Women's workforce participation hovers around 58%, and for married moms, it's even higher, over 70% in many demographics. Dual-income households are the standard. In more than 65% of families with kids, both parents are employed full-time. We've flipped that emergency backup into everyday mode. Sounds progressive, right? But here's the plot twist. The Pew Research Center reports the median U.S. household income in 2023 was about $75,000. Adjusted for inflation, that's a jump from 1970s figures. We're earning more than our parents or grandparents ever did. So why aren't we ahead? Because costs have skyrocketed in ways that devour every extra dollar. Let's break it down with real numbers. Inflation-adjusted median home prices in 1970? Around $180,000 to $200,000 in today's dollars. Fast forward to 2023, over $430,000 according to the National Association of Realtors. Housing has more than doubled. Healthcare. Per the Kaiser Family Foundation, average family spending has ballooned over 700% since 1970, with premiums, deductibles, and out-of-pockets eating up 10 to 15% of income. Childcare, which was negligible back then, thanks to one parent at home, now averages $12,000 to $15,000 per kid annually, jumping to $25,000 plus in cities like New York or San Francisco. In college? Tuition costs have surged over 1,200% since 1980, per the College Board. These aren't luxuries, they're essentials for middle-class life. That second income? It got swallowed whole by these exploding fixed costs. Today's dual-income family isn't twice as secure as a 1970 single-income one. They're often less stable because they've maxed out both engines just to stay afloat, with no reserve fuel left. You might be nodding along thinking, Mikey, we're frugal, we didn't let lifestyle creep eat our gains. Fair point, but let's crunch the numbers on that second income to see what really happens. Imagine one partner earns $80,000, the other $60,000, total $140,000. Feels plush, huh? But dissect that $60,000 add-on. First, taxes bite hard. Progressive brackets mean the second income hits higher rates. Factor in federal, 22 to 24%, state, 5 to 8%, and payroll taxes, 7.65%, and you're looking at 30 to 40% effective rate. That $60,000 shrinks to $36,000 to $42,000 take home. Next, kids. Childcare for one child, $15,000 to $20,000 yearly. Two kids? Double it to $30,000 to $40,000. Poof, your net is down to $6,000 to $12,000. Transportation, dual commutes add up. AAA estimates $5,000 to $7,000 per person annually for gas, maintenance, and wear and tear. Need a second car? Tack on $6,000 for payments, insurance, and fees. Total commuting hit, $10,000 to $15,000. Now you're at break-even or negative. And the hidden killer, exhaustion tax. 2 full-time workers mean less bandwidth for home tasks. Research from the American Time Use Survey shows dual-income families spend 20 to 30% more on outsourcing. $4,000 on cleaning services, $6,000 on takeout and meal kits, $2,000 on lawn care. Add it up, that $60,000 second income nets maybe $5,000, or less, in actual value. For multiple kids or high-cost areas, it could be a net loss. You're trading family time, health, and sanity for pennies per hour. Psychologically, it's brutal. You see that big gross income and spend accordingly, qualifying for a bigger mortgage, fancier cars, premium everything. Banks approve based on dual incomes, but life isn't predictable. Layoffs, health issues, family emergencies, bam, one income vanishes and the whole setup crumbles. Warren's study nailed this. Dual income families bankrupt more because they've zeroed out their margins. A 2024 Federal Reserve report echoes it. Nearly 40% of adults can't handle a $400 surprise without debt, many in high-earning households. Expenses balloon not on extravagance but necessities. Take housing. In the single-income days, bids were based on one salary. Now, with dual incomes, prices get inflated, everyone's competing with double firepower. Result? You need 2 incomes for what one once bought. Education follows suit. Good schools tied to pricey zip codes, creating a bidding war where free public education costs a fortune in property taxes and mortgages. So what's the escape plan? Don't quit a job cold turkey, that's not realistic. Instead, reframe, treat the second income as bonus, not baseline. Build your life on a one-income foundation. Cap fixed costs, mortgage, cars, utilities, to what the lower income covers. Say you earn $90,000 and $70,000 combined $160,000. Buy a home affordable on $70,000 alone, maybe $300,000 instead of $500,000. Skip dual car payments, opt for public transit or one vehicle. Choose solid but not elite schools. Funnel the extra income into wealth building. Max your emergency fund, 6 to 12 months. Roth IRAs for 401(k)s index funds. Tools like Vanguard or Fidelity make it easy. In 5 to 10 years, compounding kicks in. $20,000 invested yearly at 7% grows to $150,000 plus in a decade, generating passive income. This demands grit, ignoring FOMO on upgrades, explaining choices to peers. But the freedom? Priceless. Handle job loss without panic, pivot careers, prioritize family. The two-income trap isn't about earnings, it's about lost options. Our forebears had slack, we've traded it for stuff. Reclaim it by capping expenses, preserving margins. You're not treading water, you're building a life raft. If this flipped your financial script, like, subscribe and drop a comment. Are you in the trap? What's your escape strategy? Thanks for watching, let's build smarter together.